Oh, Lori, dear, he's bobbing his head for you. Here's your spooky spot on the Royal Bobbles John Carpenter's Halloween Michael Myers resin bobblehead statue. Show your fandom for classic horror flicks with this Michael Myers bobblehead statue. This officially licensed piece featuring Michael peering from behind the hedge references an iconic scene from the original Halloween film. Wait a minute, does he still have styrofoam on him? I swear I've dusted this guy 6 times. Before we get a closer look at the Royal Bobbles Halloween 1978 Michael Myers standing behind the bush, not so much standing behind the bush, you can clearly see him peeking out. I'd like to first thank the folks over at Royal Bobbles that did provide this sample we could have a look at. If you are interested to get this one for yourself, a lot of these now will be showing up at Spirit Halloween stores if you're lucky enough to find a Spirit Halloween store nearby. I will admit, though, this year isn't as easy for me. I have to go a little bit further. Last year was ideal, probably not so much for my wallet, that my Spirit Halloween was literally 5 minutes down the road. I have to drive a little bit farther this time around. But though bush standing Michael Myers stands at about 8 inches in height, or the bobblehead's going to be about 20 centimeters tall. Very carefully sliding over this shape, we're going to also bring in an equally scary shape. This is the earlier looked at 1974 Killing Mask Leatherface. And while both are bobbing, Michael clearly is bobbing just a tad bit taller, as this version of Michael Myers is a little bit taller than the Killing Mask bobblehead of Leatherface we looked at before. What's rather interesting about this shape is the fact that the box that he comes contained inside is dated from 2023. Even though I swear to you, I've seen this one from last year, it could be a case that they're simply just reproducing them for every year that they come out. Of course, I didn't get my chance to get this Michael Myers last year. It was one of those cases where I went to a Spirit Halloween really super early. I'm like one of the first earliest customers in. In fact, funny enough, though, the time that I went into Spirit Halloween this year, the girl that worked behind the counter recognized me from last year. In fact, she recognized my daughter as well. Me and my daughter are always super excited to go to Spirit Halloween. It's always like Christmas Day for us. And I always get the chance to see these early, but then when I go back later and try to grab them, they're always disappeared. Of course, when it comes to Michael Myers here, he's made of resin, so you will want to be careful, especially when it comes to grabbing this guy. Really resist the urge to kind of pick this up by the side bush. It is, though, attached securely down below here, but you really don't want to be picking this up by having then the weight of it all sort of resting on this. Sort of carefully pick it up by its square-shaped base. And while we are certainly on the topic of carefully, I'm going to carefully tip this upside down. And underneath you can see there's a label on the bottom that says it's from Royal Bobbles Premium Quality Collectibles, a website, of course, you can check out as well, www.royalbobbles.com. And you're also treated as well to 1, 2, 3, and 4 rubberized feet to prevent scratching on any surfaces. As for certainly the depiction of Michael Myers, as we see here, Annie spots Michael looming from behind the bush a little farther reaches away, and then walks up to the bush and proceeds to, of course, call Lori over. By then, Lori walks around the corner and Michael Myers has vanished. This is something that will continue on for the rest of the movie until eventually Michael pursues chase. And then, of course, we all know what ends up happening. He disappears until Halloween 2. But I do really like the way that this has been presented. Picking this up, though, it does have a fair bit of weight, because not only are you giving the weight of course, the main bobblehead being Michael here, but you're also getting some equal weight here from the resin bush that they've sculpted here as well. The bush, I feel, is handled quite well. It seems like they probably started this with a darker green, and then they've gone and painted only individual leaves a lighter green. So there's a little bit of depth happening here. Of course, the actual grass you can see has been painted almost about the same coloring, although it doesn't seem to have as much the shininess as the leaves that are on the bush itself. Of course, the shape's so not obviously standing behind it. You can see it's been really well sculpted here, down to the details of even having the ripped away sideburns still remaining here. And again, like the paintwork that they put to these pieces, I believe all these resin statues, these resin bobbleheads are all hand painted. And you can really see the time and care that Royal Bobbles take the time to put into these pieces. The only thing that's omitted, unfortunately, and this is only just a small little noticed point, is the fact it doesn't have the opening on the back of the mask where Michael Myers would then fit it over front of his face. The actual coveralls that he wears, debated, of course, by many as to what color the coveralls are actually. Some say spruce green, some say gray, some say blue. They clearly really have gone the case this time of going blue. I don't mind the fact that it's blue. Most of the time I always consider Michael Myers to be wearing blue coveralls myself, or blue boilers. He's also got, of course, the knife in his hand, which I think is one thing that wasn't obviously in the movie. I would have to go back and see it again if Michael actually has a knife in his hand. But I don't mind the fact that they actually included the knife. It looks like Michael's already been busy by the fact that there's blood on the end of the blade. The blade isn't, though, sharp, but it does have a little bit of an edge to it. Spin this around to the back so you can kind of see all the details that they put to the piece. It's, again, a really, really well-made bobblehead. The thing about the bobbleheads are always the case that they have to give them a larger heads. First of all, it draws more attention to the fact that when they're moving up and down, but also as well that they have to make enough clearance on the inside of the neck. This is always something I always talk about when it comes to these bobbleheads, that they put attaching at least the spring on the top of the neck, and then they adhere it to the inside cavity of the head. Can you actually see the spring? I hope you can. But of course, that does give a lot more leeway, a lot more mileage when it comes to head moving up and down. I mean, even to the details of actually adding the eyes. But at least the eyes, they move the eyes far enough up there that you only really see them. Let me just hold the head so it's not moving around so much. If the eyes are actually just far enough up there that you don't notice them right away. This is really one thing that I think a lot of other companies, when it comes to producing Michael Myers statues and collectibles, I really feel like they have to take some cues from this, because like the way they've moved the eyes far enough up there and then darkened the areas around the eye area, it really does make the figure's mask look then more absent, even though there's really sculpted well eyes in there. And the eyes themselves are really done well, but far enough away you really don't even notice that the eyes are there in the first place. All in all, again, like, it's a really good looking bobblehead. I'm glad I finally have now the chance not only to have this one to my collection, but also giving it a chance to show you guys the cool collectibles and cool bobbleheads that Royal Baubles are releasing. Again, as I already mentioned when we had a look, I think, at the Killing Mask Leatherface, an ideal time it is right now, between sort of like late August to, I guess, like the end of, even sometimes well into like the first week of November. Spirit Halloween stores are generally open, at least in my area, and it's always a prime time, a perfect time to start going in there and getting bobbleheads. The thing about it, though, is that I've already noticed is that when you go into the stores the initial first week, the second week, even the third week that they're open, the bobbleheads are always very well stocked. As you get then later into the season and get closer and closer to that Halloween night, most of these usually just then disappear. And I don't think they're tend to be restocking these. So if you guys are interested to get this one for yourself, definitely check your local Spirit Halloweens if you have one available, and grab Michael Myers for yourself. Now, Michael Myers here standing behind the bush is one of 4 Michael Myers that Royal Baubles is releasing this year. This one, I think, is a carryover from 2022, if memory serves me correctly, but there is also a Michael Myers that's standing outside with the bed sheets. There's also a Michael Myers that has the dead Bob suspended on the wall as he's staring at him, and there's also one of Myers standing atop of the railing just near the end of the movie. Of course, if you guys are interested, this one, of course, as well as the other Michael Myers, are Spirit Halloween exclusives. So you may want to rush over to a local Spirit Halloween. Don't drive too fast, though. Speed kills. But you will want to check your local Spirit Halloween stores to see if they have them available. If they don't happen to have them available, I think a lot of times they can either order them in, or you can also do the route of going on Spirit Halloween's website and order them that way as well. Now, of course, thanks to the folks over at Royal Baubles, not only are we going to be looking at this Michael Myers, but we will also be looking at the other ones that are the lineup for 2023. All in all, though, I think that this one has been really well handled. Seeing that this one is also more closer to the beginning of the movie, it was one of the main reasons why I wanted to look at this one first. It's been really well painted, and I will say, to the credit of Royal Baubles, they seem to have tended to their garden a lot better than the actual people that owned that bush in the movie. Even then, it looked like the bush was dying. It looked like all the leaves were red. This one actually has full foliage and well painted in green. You can, in fact, I still think you can go to that location. It's one of those bucket list items that I would always like to do. Go up to that bush that's still on the sidewalk street and recreate the scene of myself standing behind the bush. You got to think that how many people have done that, especially during the Halloween season, just standing behind from any other neighbor looking around. Oh, there's that guy. Look, Martha, there's another one. There's another one standing right behind the bush. To anybody that's not a horror fan, I mean, it probably looks a little bit strange, but to a horror fan, how iconic that scene is. And again, I think it's been nicely done here, nicely handled by the folks over at Royal Baubles. Speaking of Royal Baubles, I'd like to once again thank the folks over at Royal Baubles that did provide the sample of Michael Myers standing behind the bush bobblehead that we had the chance to have a look at during this spooktacular season. And of course, as already mentioned, we will be looking at the other bobbleheads courtesy of folks over at Royal Baubles. So if that's the thing that gets your blood curdled, make sure, of course, you're coming back here on a regular basis. Make making sure, of course, you're hitting that like button if you enjoyed this video. Making sure, of course, you're turning on that screaming subscribe button. I don't think it actually does scream. It would be funny, though, if Halloween time, Google could find a way to incorporate some sound effect to it. So when you pressed it, it would just go, ah! Oh, somebody's now subscribed to my channel again. But yeah, of course, making sure you're coming back with ghoulish peepers peeled, because there's definitely going to be a lot more spookerific reviews coming your way. And of course, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.